We're here with Dr. Kam Ackerman, and we're just going to talk a little bit about what we've been able to do working together. It's been super cool. I met Kam through NYBC and Bobby and Joey and a lot of the PFA guys. He has a doctorate of physical therapy and he's a pitching coach, so he has a unique skill set where he can teach throwing mechanics and he can also medically assess where people are at. We got to connect at NYBC and started to just talk a bunch about business and stuff. When we finally started working together, what would you say was the biggest struggle that you were having on your online business? Because you already had a thriving in-person business.
Correct. I think the biggest struggle is I was getting the clients, but they had no idea who I was. So I ran a bunch of paid ads, over $2,000 of paid ads, would get the clients. And then I would get on the call and it would be like I would have to introduce myself, tell them my entire background in a small amount of time to get them to one, buy in and to make the sale. Very, very inefficient at that time.
Yeah. You were booking calls.
Correct.
How was your close rate? Was it like compared to now? Has that changed at all? Or has it been mostly the amount of time that you've been spending on calls?
I mean, it's a little skewed because now I close every call I get on.
Yeah.
So I probably in the last 2 weeks have got on roughly 5 to 10 calls and I've closed every single one of them. And if I didn't close them online, they came in person. Versus in the past, 5 to 10 calls, I would close one.
Yeah.
And it would be like pulling strings to close.
Yeah. And simply because they just didn't understand how you're actually going to help, how you were going to help them. They didn't understand your credibility. So that was the struggle. What were you like? How was your stress? How are you feeling internally about just online business as a whole?
I would see it work and it never worked for me. So it made me pretty upset that I couldn't make it work. And I'm the type of guy that I'm going to put my head down and make it work, but no matter what I tried or however money I spent or whatever ad copy I would do, I never saw any results.
So what would you say when we started to work together? First of all, did you have any doubts about working with me? Because we had spent a bunch of time in person, so it might not be the same for someone who hasn't necessarily talked with me before, but...
Correct. But I think just off our first conversations when I first met you, I knew you had a structure in terms of how you do your thing. So, and I realized I needed some sort of structure because my previous coach, there was not really a structure I knew we were going to go about. It was like, where are you at? This is what we're going to do. Next call. Where are you at? This is what we're going to do. Versus like, no, we got to take these steps so that we can see the end result.
Yeah. So when we first started working together, what did we immediately begin to implement? Like, what did you actually do?
The first one was the pain point content. So I started just calling out the clients that I wanted to work with or that I already worked with. Before, I had no structure on that. Number 2 was the landing page organization in terms of where I put certain things and how I get people into the website. I had a website, but it was just a one-page thing with a button and a form. And now that I have more things to share, now the customer gets into my page and is able to click around and know who I truly am.
One of the things that we did with that pain point conversation is we really started to ask the question, like, who are you the best in the world at helping? And we look at your skill set, like I'd mentioned, you are a highly qualified medical professional and you're an also highly trained pitching coach. And so the combo of those, we were like, okay, well, that's a pretty unique combo. You don't normally see someone who has the pitching coach training that also has the medical side, and you don't normally see medical side who has the pitching training. So then we're like, okay, well, what are the pain points of both of those? Well, if you have the medical side but you don't have the pitching training, then you're just going to end up, you might heal your arm, but then you're just going to hurt it again.
Correct.
When you go to throw. And on the other side, if you don't have the medical side, then you can fix the mechanics, but you can't actually fix the issue with the arm. So we went after that, and you started to go super hard on long form YouTube.
Oh yeah, and I think with how much stuff that's already done, I forgot the initial step. We attacked the first problem, which one do you see most often? Little League Elbow. Okay, make a bunch of long form content on Little League Elbow, and then the clients
that problem.
Own it. to where you search Little League Elbow, I'm the only one with a clean cut video on this, and now multiple videos on it. Parents I was getting on, I would say, hey, how did you find me? They would say, oh, YouTube. And I would ask them what video. It'd be the video with like 20 views, which I'm okay with.
And then they ended up paying you how much?
1,500.
Yeah, crazy. So like, and that just goes to show, like, when you own a problem, you're the best in the world at a problem. You like everything gets easier, and I think that that's one of the things that people struggle with most is they don't have any strategy. They don't talk about the problem. They don't own the problem. And then now what you have is you have a cohesive business where it's, you talk about the problems of Little League Elbow. You have lead magnets on that. You have your offer on that. You have your coaching on that. You have testimonials on that. And it's all in line rather than like just being super scattered. Now, we talked a little bit about what we implemented. What did you experience internally? Like, was there any stress? Was there any impact on your internal side as you started to do all this stuff? I'm curious.
After all of the implementation?
Let's say during it. Like, how did you feel as
okay.
you were doing it? Yeah.
Well, there's definitely a lot of work.
Yeah.
So you just got to be ready to put your foot down and do the work. So that was stressful in terms of just getting stuff done because I have to manage the in-person thing that's kind of passively rolling at this point. So that was a lot. But besides that, I felt like I had a plan. So therefore, that was making life less stressful versus like, what do I do today? What do I film today?
Yep.
Well, it's like, no, I need to film 10 videos on Little League Elbow. Just write the scripts and film them.
Yep. Okay, so now as we look at kind of like where we started back in August, it's now January. What type of results have you seen?
So I started with you relatively end of August, so we'll say that beginning of September. I had about 1,200 to 1,700 total through Kajabi. As of today, I got an email from Kajabi that says you're over 10K.
Come on.
So
congrats.
That's huge because in the month of January, it's only January 22nd. I'm already at 4,500. So if I continue this and then get more leads in the door, I mean, that's easily the 100K a year business.
That's right.
Easily.
Come on, dude.
Easily.
Now
crazy. That's this courses and all that other stuff that I'm building out via your framework once again with the 4 healthy throwing killers. Once you catch the wave never ends. You just keep going and going and going.
Yep. So one of the things that's really important to note about Kam is that, and part of this is the nature of his business where it's a little bit different than like a traditional sports coaching skill-based business.
Correct.
Is that his renewal rate is really high. And so, a lot of people, they might not have bought the 3-month program at the beginning. They'll buy the 1-month program. He does a good job with them. They want to keep working with him.
Correct.
And that is just like it's a very important and often overlooked part of business is it's not just about getting the first customer. It's like, how do you keep working with that customer? And now one other thought on this, sometimes with skill sports, you almost don't want to always work with them. Like for me as a catching coach, like I want to structure my program so that I can come get them a great result and then they can go because I actually want them to play other sports. But at the same time, you want to have the business structure set up so that you can keep working with them because they like working with you. You're a role model to them. You're helping them, like you're guiding them as a coach and mentor. So I think that's just an important note to part of the reason that he's been so successful, which is why now some of the next things that we're going to do, it's like, okay, now how do we increase the lead flow because you have the business back end pretty strong right now. Now the next step is like, okay, how do we now take that to the next level? Okay, so we talked a little bit about some of the stress that you had at the beginning where you're like, I see this working. It's working for other people. It's not working for me. What type of relief have you had around that and how have your beliefs changed?
The fact that I know I don't have to keep hammering out in-person clients or renewing them is a ton of relief because there's so much impact and there's so many athletes all across the world that I can help. So I don't have to chase the next community athlete near me. I can basically sit back and let the leads fly in from in-person online to where the marketing is kind of doing itself through the content.
Yep.
Now it's like, okay, I have 20 athletes in person, blah, blah, blah this month. Okay, I need that 2 more. Well, that 2 more is probably going to come through online now.
Yep.
So I can kind of sit back a little bit more and stress less on how many people I see per month. When I would get on the calls previously, like I also didn't know it would work online. Like deep down in me. So, and then I was a little hesitant
to sell because you're
but
like,
it wasn't like I like knew that though at that time, But now I'm just like, are you ready?
Exactly.
It's like a weird feeling.
It's a confidence thing.
Yeah, it is. Like, and I don't know if I can explain, like if I went back and understood, like I knew I felt confident but didn't feel confident, but I didn't know how to like put it together,
Well, it's because now you have proof.
Yeah.
And you believe it, right?
Yeah.
And I would say same thing for me when I first started. I was like, I'll charge you $200 for 4 weeks. And now I've done it with so many kids. I'm like, hey, look, I know I can help you. Like,
Yeah.
I've literally helped hundreds of kids just like you. It's just a matter of whether you can actually commit to doing the work.
Correct. That's exactly the line I use now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because that's true.
Yeah.
Because you can help them. You've helped
Yeah.
so many kids in person and online. And now it's just a matter of whether they'll actually put in the work, because they have to do it because it's online, right?
Right.
But who else would you consider to be a good fit for the program? What characteristics do they need? What skill sets do they need? What would you say in order for someone to come in and see success?
Yeah, they need to know how to coach, and they need to have coached people before in any sort of thing. As long as you know how to teach and or coach, this could work. Another thing that you probably need is confidence within yourself and your own craft. Because if you don't trust that this sort of exercise or this sort of technique or this sort of skill is going to make this player better, I mean, the parent will probably see through that. The player may not, but the parent will see through that. And then you may sell them on the first one, but you're not going to sell them on the future ones. Like what we were saying before is 5 of the online ones I've had in the most recent I've all renewed for the next 3 months. So that just adds up as time goes on. So.
And then I think another important piece, this is where I see a lot of people get hung up, a lot of new people. They're exceptional coaches, right? They get great results. They get really hung up on the content side and on the tech side. What would you say if you were to coach someone through some of that based off of what you've learned, all that kind of stuff?
I think you definitely need a group or a small group or a person who has done the content stuff. Because that was, for me, I was able to connect with Coach Bobby.
Yeah.
And Coach Bobby gave me some tips on that. Then it would be valuable to work with somebody and purchase a how to do content course of some sort. For you, it's really easy for you to tell somebody, here's the hooks that you're going to use. This is how you're going to preface your content. This is how you're going to post your content, and then just put your head down and do it. I will say your content will change over time too. I've seen my own content change, and it gets better with time. You just you have to try though.
What would be some other of the best resources that you've found that have helped you?
Yeah, I think Ali Abdal's was really great to create long-form content, and he teaches you how to use AI and ChatGPT to quickly make your content. So like with that, I'm able to make 3 long-form videos in a small morning, versus if I didn't have that, I mean, it would take me hours to create a script. Now I can create a script really quick and then pivot off that script.
Any other resources that you'd say?
I think if you see a content person who promotes about creating content, they usually have a ton of free lead magnets. I've downloaded so many. That ideally puts your headspace into what you should make and how you should make it. And then of course, consuming the content itself to see how people are doing it successfully, because there's a ton out there.
Final question. If someone is thinking about actually joining, what would you tell them? And in terms of like what the commitment in terms of workload and stuff looks like, how would you do that? Because it's a business, right? Like it's going to take a little bit of time. Yeah, what would you tell them?
I would say you need at least 5 to 10 solid hours a week to do the work that needs to be performed. And then of course, you got to trust that this is going to be a long game. I mean, we're talking, it's now been 4 or 5 months, and now I see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I can see that light is really bright, but it took time. So you got to just understand that if you're going to do this, this is to do it as a business and a job, not just do it as a little side hustle that somehow is going to generate a crap load of money really fast. Because I always heard the quick money goes fast too. So it took a while to make, and I can see this being pretty sustainable.
Yeah, I think that that's a great point, because this is what I've seen with a number of different people that I've started to work with. They come in, they're like, all right, let's go. I hear this internet thing happens really fast. Like, that's not the case. It happens a lot faster on the internet than if you were to do it in person.
Right.
But like, it still takes work. Like you don't just show up and just wake up and you have 1 million followers, you know what I mean? And $1 million. So it takes work. And then I guess one more thing, because I think this is also important for like the in-person coaches. What impact have you seen on your in-person business based off of all the online content that you're doing?
I'm full.
Too full.
I need help, but I don't want to hire help right now.
Yeah.
I'm being cheap with the help, but yeah, my in-person thing is completely full. I have more little 12-year-olds than I ever thought I would have, and I'm charging them a higher ticket price because I have the trust, and I don't need to charge them the first lower rates that I charged when I initially started in 2017. The online stuff will push your in-person stuff.
Yeah.
So if you have both, I mean, I highly suggest both. Could you just do online? I mean, yeah. Could you do both? Yes.
Thanks, Cam.
Of course, man.
Appreciate it, bro.